It's a place where if you get lost, there is no guarantee that you will be rescued. The temperatures there will numb you, and if you get buried under snow, you can only pray to God to pull off a miracle. Now, the situation can be so bad, so scary and even dangerous, but our soldiers out there who are guarding our borders out there do not even have the requisite protective gear to help them in those harsh conditions. Indeed, it is sad commentary on how we have let down our sincere soldiers.
The temperature out there is minus 60 degrees. The altitude is 20,000 feet. And the oxygen available is only 10%. Trust us, in the last 3 decades, almost 1,000 soldiers have died. Last week, as many as 10 Indian soldiers were trapped in the avalanche. Though Lance Nayak Hanumantappa was rescued, he did not survive. Yes, we are talking about Siachen Glacier, the highest combat zone in the world. Interestingly, fewer soldiers have died on the line of duty due to enemy fire than because of the harsh weather conditions. Yet, 365 days a year, the soldiers are deployed on the glacier heights in these extreme weather conditions to guard the border against Pakistan. Though the conditions are harsh, sadly, our brave soldiers do not have foolproof gear to protect themselves in those inimicalities.
Why can't we have some radars? Today there is something called Weizen radar which has been developed by the Switzerland and Germany in collaboration, which is so light, which can be carried, which can be put in 3 different zones. It can be mobile, it can operate on solar panels, it has got its own data recording facilities, it has got its alarm signals which will tell you in about 20 to 25 minutes of avalanche happening. That's a great kind of an alarming thing.
Well, it is the DRDO that needs to do the required R&D in order to ensure that our soldiers do not face any such problems in those terrains. But has it failed in doing so?
Including our DRDO scientists have failed the army miserably. There's something called a smart vest. Smart vest means it will tell if the gentleman is wearing that suit, the soldier is wearing that suit, it will tell you, it will monitor his health conditions like ECG and other things, heartbeat, blood pressure and all that. And also, it will give him the signals when his systems are going to fail. And also, it is embodied and embedded with a GPS system. Wherever he collapses or he does something, his location is immediately known to the base camp. If we had this kind of a smart vest, which my DRDO friend, so-called devil in Bangalore, have admitted openly that yes, if this device was there, we could have found all these 10 within no time. Because search and rescue is a very, very serious operation. We don't even know where all the 10 people were buried under the avalanche. If we had this smart vest, Hanumantappa and other 9 soldiers, God forbid, would be living today and talking to you on telephone from that place. We have failed our people in that sense that we have not woken up.
Indeed, these are things related to the security of the nation. Is it the bureaucracy that is playing spoilsport in procuring such safeguards?
There's only one solution to this. When I have fever, I have to explain my conditions to the doctor, not my neighbor. Today in the defense procurement and defense policies, the defense manager is not asked. is somebody who has done MA in anthropology and occupies the chair of IAS, who makes decision for us. It is a sad, and it's not only sad, it's kind of a commentary on how seriously we are taking our defense department. We didn't even have a full-fledged defense minister for some time, in the beginning of this new government. But that also is another mindset that we have to wake up from. My request to the country is, leave aside this bureaucracy. Take decisions which are making the life of your soldier more comfortable so that he can optimize his operational efficiency and do much more toward the nation. Involve directly the 3 chiefs of the services in decision making for all defense procurement from now on, from now this second on.
Well, as the wing commander says, it is high time we pulled up our socks and took the right decisions in the interest of our country. A NEWS9 report.
Don't our soldiers deserve better? Could Hanumantappa's life be saved, and along with him the 9 others who were in fact at that height of 19,600 feet? What is ailing the entire defense mechanism in this country? Why we don't have a strategic culture? To speak about all this, we have in our studios, we have Wing Commander Atri, who is in fact joining us, and we have Dore Raju, who is former special prosecutor, and from Mangaluru we have Captain Ganesh Karnik, who is a BJP MLC, and he's joining us from our Mangaluru studio. GB Atri, the question that I have for you, Wing Commander, is that why is it by design that they have decided to have a civil bureaucracy more of as a hurdle in terms of strategic thinking than something that should help in facilitating the strategic needs of the armed forces? Why is it by design they have put it over there?
I have only one thing to say. IAS wants to have the supremacy over everybody. IAS, in my opinion and experience with them for last about 30 years plus, do not appreciate any suggestions given by anybody else other than the IAS lobby, and they do not consider it at their prestige to even reply to letters what you write to the IAS body, be the principal secretary or additional secretary or chief secretary. They don't even reply to your letters. In other words, they want to make everyone else subjugated to them and show that they are the supreme authority in a civil administration. To some extent, I accept that the military in a democracy is under the civilian rule, but not under the IAS rule. We are under the civilian rule of the elected representatives. That is the defense minister. My earnest appeal goes to all the political parties, whichever dispensation comes to power, don't have an interface. You know that communication theory says when A speaks to B, if there is an interference in between as an interface, 40 to 50% of communication is lost and transmitted in a different way. And that's exactly is happening today. The Minister of Defense for Government of India should exactly know what the requirements of the fighting forces are, not through an intermediary agency which says, no, we will only recommend this. Many times you will be surprised, some stupid inane inquiries will be raised by the undersecretary level back to Sena Bhavan or Vayu Bhavan or Nausena Bhavan, that what is this to be explained. They don't feel like coming across. It's hardly any distance. South Bak is there, Vayu Bhavan is here, and Sena Bhavan is there. If that ministry bureaucracy, if they did not want to show their one-upmanship, if they really wanted to solve the problems, least they can do is pick up that file, go to that officer concerned, discuss with the problems, write down and push it further. They don't do that. They don't even see procurement files for a long time. And who hates the procurement cell? Defense production and defense procurement, an IAS officer. So for all these sins today, which should have happened 10 years ago, we think only after 5, 6, 10 years ahead. As Debel scientists have very clearly said, DRDO technology could have helped Hanumantappa and other 9 others today. In fact, they could have been surviving figures provided they were wearing the smart vest. Question arises, what is this smart vest? What does it contain? A smart vest is to monitor the health conditions as in general parlance, so that your viewers can understand the health parameters, like BP and other things, at the same time like a GPS. Where is he? Now you imagine yourself, supposing this avalanche has come and they are buried under 25 feet of snow. Immediately, The health monitoring system would have told them their BP is going down and things like that. An alarming signal would have been raised and their location would have been exactly known. The recovery could have been on the February 4th, at the most February 5th, within 2 days. So there is every chance that some of these people could have definitely been found alive. Coming back to the procurement system, if there is a Secretary Defense, don't you think it is his responsibility to make sure that the defense forces are in always a healthy condition and fighting spirit? Don't they all know that what are the kind of technological advancement the whole world across has gone? Don't they know that all this has to be embedded and my soldiers should be given this who is protecting the nation and whatever is given, like General Malik very famously said, if there are no new purchases, how will you fight for this nation? General Malik, like a true soldier, got up and said, I will fight with whatever I have. That's all he could do, because whatever they had put up at that time, whether be it modernization of the Air Force or modernization Army, today the Air Force modernization taking to some extent. We have been flying coffins for such a long time. 1966 to 2014 we have been flying MiGs. Only
still yet to be retired.
We are still, that is yet to be recycled completely, because you cannot do it in one financial year of all the squadrons what in the Air Force. I can't tell you the number of squadrons, that will be incorrect on my part, but it's a very, very costly affair. Like Air Chief Marshal Tyagi used to say, Air Force itself is a very costly affair. You got to be prepared for it. As the technology advancement takes place, and in a war scenario, ECM, ECCM, ECCM square, ECCM cube, we have come to that stage today. Therefore, the cost of maintaining a very fighting fit Air Force or Army has also gone multifold. While a lot of people are asking questions why the defense spending is gone up, it is not always on the procurement angle. There are so many other things like the salary, like the pensions, everything is included. Therefore, the government, to make sure the world understands, remove this pay, pension, everything and show it as expenditure from your Ministry of something, human resource or something like. Make defense procurements only as the defense budget. Only then you can bring down this expenditure to whatever level you want to tell the whole country, because we as a human resource, our pay, pension, etc. should be given by the Human Resource Ministry, not by the Defense Department. Defense Department is, as a human resource, I am fighting for the country with the weapons and ammunitions and other things what they have given to me. That should only be the defense expenditure. So the simple thinking, they have to do it. If they do it properly and give the right amount of money as well as the equipment in time, by not unduly going for 14 years, 16 years in procurement processes under some silly reasons and egoistic issues, our army personnel would definitely be, having feeling of letdown.
In fact, let us get the guest from Mangaluru, Captain Ganesh Karnik, who is a BJP MOC. Ganesh Karnik, do you agree with what Wing Commander GVR3 has to say, that the bureaucracy is in fact the hurdle that is stopping the army from being fighting fit and also procuring what is required to keep them safe in a harsh environment?
Let me at the outset pay my respectful homages to the martyred soldiers, including 3 from Karnataka. You have raised some very interesting issues to be discussed. I fully agree with what Wing Commander Atri says. Yes, there is a gap between the bureaucracy and the Fauji requirements, and that has to be bridged. Of course, it doesn't happen over a short period of time, but I could feel the anguish in the voice of Wing Commander Atri. See, defense is a specialized force, and deploying troops in a very difficult terrain like Siachen and high altitude requires very special considerations. The Smart West he was talking to has been undergoing trial for more than 10 long years. Now tell me, which country can afford to lose the lives of soldiers for no fault of theirs? It is tragic, it is saddening, and it is heartening when we hear that 3 days, 4 days, 5 days, we can't even have a trace of our soldiers who are lost in an avalanche. So the entire process of procurement, getting the most advanced technology, providing the Jawans with the most advanced gear is the essential duty of any responsible government. When you don't do it, it is the poor soldier who ends up sacrificing his ultimate for the nation. That is when you feel sad about it. So unless the bureaucracy understands the importance of providing the army with the necessary equipment, necessary technology, and most advanced gear that is required to fight, forget about the enemies, fight the extreme conditions of weather in a high altitude. What do you expect? How a soldier can survive in such difficult terrain? So I totally agree with what Wing Commander R3 says. He's a much more senior officer, more experienced officer. I only put in a short service commission, but I have lived in high altitude. I have lived in 18,000 feet height. I know how difficult it is to live there. And when you hear the sad demise of Hanumanthappa after 6-7 days under the snow, how I wish there was some technology. We could have, ensured that he was retrieved, he was made to survive, and he was brought down to, peace location and looked after. That is when you feel sad about it. I agree with Wing Commander 3.
Well, let me get Special Prosecutor Doreraju into the debate. You've heard both of them, anguish of soldiers saying that this is the situation. Why is it that a civilian government like ours has a civilian interface for military matters? It's by design, I think. They have put it in there. They were scared that one day they might just take over. So out of that fear was born this system of repression, just put across an IAS officer out there who doesn't understand defense, and this is how they created the system.
What I feel is the DRDO is a waste body. It has to be activated, and central government has to give more interest to this body. That is the first thing. Secondly, the death of soldiers, those who are there for 6-7 days and struggling, and the army officers, they have failed to discharge their duty to save the precious lives. So here again DRDO comes to the picture, and they have failed in discharging their duty.
And but in this particular case that we are talking about, DRDO is a wing of scientists. They also come under an establishment of a bureaucracy of IAS officers. So who is this DRDO actually accountable to?
No, as Wing Commander said, the bureaucracy is ruling, and bureaucracy many times, because of their fault, many people they suffer.
And in this case, do you think that it is bureaucracy's fault that Hanumanthappa was not able to have the required, and the other 9 soldiers also who in fact sacrificed their lives, were not given the real equipment to in fact stand up against this environment, this very harsh environment in Siachen?
No, what I feel is the implementation of the policy decisions of the government comes to the hands of the bureaucracy, that is the IAS lobby, and if they are not honest, nothing can be done.
Well, in fact, on that note, we'll slip into a short break. On the other side, we will in fact ask as to how potent this IAS lobby has become to such an extent that in fact it attacks the strategic value of the defense forces, degrading them and also demoralizing them on many fronts. In fact, before going into the break, we were talking about how this IAS lobby has in fact been a hurdle in getting things done for the military. And Wing Commander Atri, you had something to say. You said they don't have a strategic culture.
They have no culture. Forget about strategic culture. Their only one culture is show the army and the air force and the navy in poor light. That's all. In 1996, there was an A.V. Singh committee, who was also the defense secretary at that time. He wrote a very huge report of 8 to 9 volumes. He suggested, especially for defense procurements, he laid down certain norms and suggested certain methodology how it should be worked out. First, he said you should have a chief of staff, who is one of the senior most of the 3 chiefs, so that it's a chief's coordination. So all 3 services will report to him. He is the chief of staff. So he will conduct the business of operation of all the 3 services in a unified command structure. Unfortunately, we are now in 2016. 20 years have gone. Successive governments haven't been able to put forth what that A.V. Singh committee.
That is when we are talking about interoperability between the forces.
Correct. And therefore compatibility will come. So he will report directly to the defense minister. Now all the interfaces are removed. So every proposal can move forward.
And it was also part of strategic thinking also that you wanted.
So that thinking was done by Vikram Singh, who was a defense secretary, along with the 3 service chiefs. That is why it was shot down, because he did not consult his IAS colleagues. Because he consulted the defense experts and brought out this paper of various volumes depicting how everything should be done, it was crystal clear. If they had followed that, we would have been in a much better situation today, operationally and administratively. Other thing they can do now also is post the service officers into the service headquarters, that is Ministry of Defence. Make one of the air marshals or a general or an admiral as the Secretary of Defence and let him report directly to the Minister of Defence. Half the problem of communication, everything will be sorted out. And you will see how fast we will start moving across. Similarly, as Mr. Doreraj was saying, the DRDO, then defence production and defence is all these amalgamate them. I'll tell you a very nice story. The present Vice Chief of the Air Force, Air Marshal Khosla, submits a report to the ministry saying that we had this technology transfer of building Sukhoi 30s in India by the HAL, which is a public sector undertaking under the DRDO, with the view that we will save precious money of the public exchequer. You will be aghast to know, as per his report, the Sukhoi 30s which have been built indigenously on technology transfer agreement with the Russians have costed 1.38 times more than those which we have imported to India. Look at this. What kind of a white elephant are these? Do we need such kind of public sector undertakings? Why not we follow the American module? Make completely defense sector, throw open to the public. There are Tatas. In fact, if you remember, HAL itself was a company which was started by a civilian earlier, which was later taken over by the government of India under Jawaharlal Nehru's great scheme of must have a great defense establishment. It has failed for over so many years. Now throw it open. Let there be competition. Automatically rates will come down. Allow them to import technology transfer, whatever you are doing for the PSUs. Don't give them the same level playing field. Then you see what will happen to HAL and all other things. You are also aware there is an establishment called Gas Turbine Research Establishment. They were given a thing that you must develop an aero engine called Kaveri for LCA-1. LCA was, after how many years Tejas 1 has come out? It's almost 29 years.
30 years.
The first trial flight was 29 years. 30th year they have handed over this. You mean to say, when the real wheel is already invented, what were you wasting? And they tried to blame the armed forces, saying that we keep shifting our goalpost, that we will say this, but don't they know? After 20 years, what should be the technology? Their scientists should be able to see today what is next 30 years the requirement, not me. I am only an operator. I will go by what is the world is producing today. If they could not foresee 30 years hence and make a technology today which will be useful 30 years, then why do we need such kind of a technology in India as a poor country? Why should we spend so much on Tejas?
And they did not materialize. Kaveri engine did not materialize.
Even today the Tejas engine is not from GTRE. It is imported.
And
GTRE, which was given the mandate to produce indigenously without any import, that is 100% indigenization, 100% no import, has produced Kaveri today with 100% indigenization but 100% imports.
With more of an assembly kind
Absolutely. There nothing is happening over there. They are all just there. A time has come today for the government of India to take a very serious view and see all these establishments needed or not. You must amalgamate all the four. There are so much. Even synergy doesn't exist. There is one side HAL, there is one side ADA, there is one side National Space Agency, other side what is that? National NAL, which is also there. Why don't we collect all this together and use all the resources? See that our at least building of technological things in India will not cost this much as today it is costing. Use them for all kinds of brainstorming and bring up your projects much faster. Think ahead. Why are you thinking only 5 years ahead? If you have given a project, see, missiles are a different issue. Okay? Whereas we are talking about, let it be tanks or let it be aeroplanes, you should think at least 25 years ahead and make a technology today. That is why you are there as a scientist. That is why DRDO has been set up. Instead of doing that, they will always blame the operational forces. They change their specification at the last minute. The field trial could not be conducted. These are all damn lame excuses. Even in the Smart West case, we'll come back to what happened to Hanumanthappa and other 9 others. Even in the Smart West, does it take from 2004 to 2016, 12 years for field trials? What were those officers responsible in DRDO as well as in defense production, IAS, lobby, etc., were doing? Have we even today made better looking, clothing for our people get posted on high altitude allowance? Other side we have seen the Seventh Central Pay Commission has already deliberated upon that high altitude allowance is a waste for my soldiers and that should not be given because the public exchequer will be saved by some 8 crores or something. Is this the way to go?
In fact, we'll get Mr. Vijay Kumar into the discussion. He's in fact a retired IAS officer. Mr. Vijay Kumar, Do you agree with two soldiers are in fact joining us? We have also Captain Karnik from Mangaluru as well as Wing Commander Atri, who are very aghast that the IAS lobby within the Defence Ministry is curtailing them and not letting them to be optimal in their functioning. Do you agree with them?
I think it goes beyond just curtailing.
Okay, you're a person who says it goes beyond curtailing.
Beyond just curtailing.
Okay.
See, I'll put it like this because I want to give the latest what is happening. See how all these discrepancies will come out. Because somebody has to actually raise a what you call voice against such things. That is what is called whistleblowing. Administrative Reforms Commission in 2007, it clearly said those who are in the defence sector, they should be allowed to blow whistle because it involves national security. Parliamentary Committee in 2011, it also recommended it. But finally DOPT actually scuttled it. So my own people. And I opposed it. And not only that one, recently a month back, they go to the Supreme Court, file a wrong affidavit, saying that no act is there. See, to that extent they are willing to distort. So, and this is one part of it. And I will come to the other part of it. See, as far as what you call scams, they take place at every stage, starting from identifying a product, preparing a specification, then tendering, procurement, maintenance. So at every level there is corruption. So how do you expect anything good to happen? I remember in one case in 2008, one Akash Sanchan, he reported about substandard materials given for this what you call mud guards for high altitude vehicles. Okay, he said that all substandard materials have been used. Not only it is a waste of money, it also kills people who use it. You know what happened? That fellow was transferred and he was harassed. He went to the Supreme Court. Supreme Court said it is a matter of transfer is a matter of what is of the organization and will not interfere. See, when truth is blocked at every stage, how we expect anything to improve? So I totally agree. With because my own experience and my own fight at every level, it has indicated that these things happen in a routine manner. They don't care. They don't care for the lives of ordinary people, whether it may be a person at the border or it may be a Paura Karmika. They don't care. See, there is least respect for the lives of ordinary workers, ordinary soldiers, and farmers. You know how many farmers commit suicide also. So it is the pattern is there everywhere.
We were discussing about how substandard materials are in fact handing into the soldier's kitty, especially when he is posted in some of the hotspots of the country. Now the question that I'm going to ask Captain Karnik is, Captain Karnik, isn't this a worry? If there is substandard material that is being given, if there are cost overruns over materials that are required for the common soldier, what is he fighting with? He's just fighting with his courage and nothing else. There is nothing that we are giving to aid him in his fight, and it looks like that we are letting down our soldiers, because when it comes to a strategic war, they are fighting with substandard materials and they are just cannon fodder.
Can I? Hello?
Hello, Captain Karnik, if you could hear me.
Hello?
Captain Karnik, the question that I was asking is, if our soldiers are being given substandard material and they are not being given material at all, then it looks like in a situation of a real full-scale war, they are at a total disadvantage. What they fight is just with their courage, nothing else.
Yes. Yes.
So, Captain Karnik, what is your reaction to this, that our soldiers are in fact strategically disadvantaged?
Oh. Well, the entire debate has raised some very interesting issues. I was remembering a book written by Brigadier Dalvi about the Great Himalayan Blunder. And I don't think we have learned lessons from our blunders that we did in 1962. Now, Wing Commander Atri and Mr. Vijay Kumar were debating on issues concerning procurement, issues concerning technology adoption, issues concerning the quality gear that we are supposed to give to the men along the borders or equipment during war. Whatever is the issue, when you have an army or armed forces to protect your borders, is it not the responsibility of the respective governments to provide them with the most contemporary things? Now, there can be issues relating to procurement processes, There can be issues related to decision-making processes, whether it is bureaucracy, whether it is armed forces, whatever it is. How long do you need to sort out these issues? If you send your men to guard your border along places like Siachen, and if you don't equip them with the right kind of gear, whom are you going to blame? The poor soldier? Or are you going to blame this establishment? So it is time that we bring in a sense of professionalism into anything that you may call, whether it is procurement, whether it is providing equipment, whether it is providing technology. Now when you don't do it, you end up paying huge prices. And army is a specialized force to protect our borders. And you don't know when is going to be the emergency coming in. In Hanumantappa's case, or all other 9 soldiers who got killed along with him in the avalanche, possibly had we equipped them with the right kind of gear, right kind of smart vest, right kind of equipment, I don't think they would have been taking 6 days, 8 days to save the lives or find the dead bodies. Now when Wing Commander Atri speaks about the processes lapses that we have, and when Mr. Dorai Raju speaks about the dead bodies like DRDOs and other research institutions, there is some kind of a truth in what they are saying. You take decades. You can't build a Kaveri engine. Your main battle tank Arjuna is a failure. Your Tejas takes years to come in. Your Sukhoi, induction takes many years to go. And I was shocked when Wing Commander Atri told me the cost of assembling Sukhoi in India is 1.83 times costlier than procurement straight from Russia. So this is where the administration, the research facility that we have, or whatever it is for that matter, we should have a relook into it, rethink into it. After all, you are preparing army for an emergency situation. You can't prepare army at the nick of the time. We were told when we were young soldiers that the more you sweat in peace, the less you bleed in war. So sweating is not only for the soldier. The entire establishment is supposed to provide the support base, has to sweat during peacetime. Where is our defense technology research going on in this country? Does anyone look forward to India for procurement of any of the defense equipment? That means we haven't established a research facility which can provide contemporary world-class equipment, world-class technology to the entire world. So I think a serious time has come. Hanumantappa's case has opened the windows. At least now, let us not start digging into our past, but at least from this minute onwards, like Mr. Vijay Kumar was mentioning, what decision has to be taken, it has to be taken. What process correction has to be done, it has to be done. Between defense and the bureaucracy, there must be perfectly oiled coordination between the two establishments. Defense works for the nation, bureaucracy also works for the nation. Now, ego of bureaucracy and ego of army cannot come in way of decision making, which is going to take away the lives of many of our soldiers. So my only submission is, this is not the time to find fault with each other. It is a time to come together, resource pool management, and then try to bring out the best that is possible and provide the best available to the soldier. Soldier has to fight. Soldier has to fight the extremities of weather. He has to fight the war. He has to be equipped with the most advanced technology equipment available. This is what I feel. This is not the time to talk about finding fault with the bureaucracy. Or we have inherited a system after Nehru's time where bureaucracy always had a supremacy. Intentionally, unintentionally, I don't know. What was the politics behind it, I don't know. But what I have gathered from seniors and what I have gathered through some reading, that it is during Krishna Menon's time and Mr. Nehru's time, even though the chiefs of armed forces were equated with the secretary level post, subsequently it was brought down to joint secretary level so that army chiefs, air force chief and navy chief become subservient to the bureaucracy. This is something which has to be looked into. A chief who commands the entire armed forces, if he has to work under a bureaucrat, obviously there are issues. So this has to be sorted out. And the requirement of defense is different from the procurement and requirements of a civilian setup. This has to be understood from a professional angle by the bureaucracy. Unless these differences are sorted out, unless these differences are understood by the bureaucracy, I think we keep shouting at the pitch of our voice, and the same thing will continue. Our soldiers will continue to die along the borders. This is what I feel.
Mr. Vijay Kumar, I'd like to get into the debate. Is it time for the IAS officer or the bureaucracy to say that, you know, this is not our territory, we should be out of this?
I think it's high time, because see, one thing is that, as Mr. Karnik was pointing out, it has to do with professionalism. You cannot claim expertise in everything just because you get into IAS. See, that is my point.
That is, in fact, Wing Commander Athri said that someone who's written anthropology is deciding over strategic affairs and military equipment.
So there is a limit to which you can claim expertise and professionalism over others, and you have to accept that one. That it is not my cup of tea. It has to be handled by the people who are professionals in that field and who have got experience, expertise. See, if you ask us, during the probation we are taken to this so-called border areas. I went to Tatula Pass, Indo-China border. We spent just 1 month. It is just to sort of make us familiar with the problems they face at high altitude. But if you think that is the only problem they would be facing all through the, even after 30 years, that would be wrong. Because what remains in our mind is only that much. What was introduced in the beginning of the career.
Because security challenges are dynamic, it keeps changing.
Yes, certainly. And I remember the places where we went as professionals, now they cannot be even army cannot go. See, that is the point. So that is, it is too much. So I personally feel there is a limit to which any person can interfere with any other person's field. That's all.
I appreciate Mr. Vijay Kumar. Nathula Pass is also quite treacherous. Now it has become better because it's come onto the Silk Route, and you know, Nathula Pass, for your viewers, I will say, it is near Gangtok. It is the border of China and India, which enters towards the Lhasa. There's a very huge road over there. And believe me, in December, Changu Lake, you can have ice skating. That is the situation. There's a huge lake called Changu Lake. On the side of it, you can take a lot of yacht rides and all that, and do ice skating also. That is the condition. All the rivers and streams will be icicles. You can hold them like this. Imagine, those are the inhospitable conditions where we work. I'm very happy has gone, and there is a procedure there. Only one vehicle can go. When this vehicle crosses 1 kilometer, he is made to stand there, and he will have a whistle, and you know, there's a communication system through hand phones and all, because there are no telephones. I'm talking about days when we went, there were no mobile phones also. So now, at least because of technological advancements, we are able to manage that. Only this much. First direction we give is don't look down, because that is around, you know, maybe 4,000–5,000 feet gorge below you. So if you lose balance, and if you are height of, you know, fear of height and things like that, you will just land up there. So all drivers are told, look straight and drive, and just follow instruction. That is up to this. Coming to this, what is IAS? As I understand, Indian Administrative Service. IAS is supposed to administer. Army, Navy, Air Force, the 3 arms of the armed forces of India, have well qualified officers and others who can administer their own forces. So we don't need per se an IAS officer to sit on top of us, number one. What is the principle IAS follows? With great dismay, I am telling you, ABCD squared. A for avoid, B for bypass, C for confuse, create chaos and calls for commissions, D for delay, defer, demand reports. Ultimately, when everything comes crumbling down on you, you have to decide with a very, very, you know, sad face. That is the state of affair of today of IAS. They don't want to take any decisions, but they want to hold the reins. How much of supervisory capacity work they have done today? Okay, for example, I'll tell you. You look around the Army and the Air Force, what kind of vehicles we are using, even in the Navy. Shaktiman. Name? Shaktiman brand, model number 16th or whatever it is. Have you ever seen a vehicle like that? It's you know, with so much a beautiful SUV, everything has come in the world. APCs, armed personnel carrying vehicles and all that. So much of technology has happened. But if you touch that, it is so hard to even pull out. If you have to climb into that vehicle, it's another exercise. Okay? Why can't we give better looking vehicles which can travel faster and light and carry more load? What has happened to the ordnance factories? Where is the research and establishment facilities? What are they doing? The same vehicle again and again, they are giving it to us. For how many years? For what I know, from 76 to 2001 I served, I have seen the same vehicle, nothing much have changed. Nothing much change in that vehicle. And Army is the biggest user because they have to, you know, they say we have to climb mountains and all that. Okay, Army uses for its troop movement and all that, the same Shaktiman vehicle. Why can't we even change that? Who has to think on all these things? Who is sitting on top of me? Who has been given the onerous task of taking decisions on behalf of armed forces? If you can't take decision, get out.
And look at the
Leave it to us.
strategic incapacity
Yes.
that we have. We are losing down on our squadrons in the Air Force.
Absolutely.
We are not getting the latest tanks that for our army, and our submarine fleet is completely depleted if you consider the age of these submarines.
Karnik left it halfway. About T-20 MBT, whatever we call main battle tank, Arjun tank. If you go through, if you hit stories over that, it's fiasco of the highest order. But nobody is held accountable, my friend. Who has been held accountable? DRDO or the defense production or any of the IAS lobby in the bureaucracy in decision making? Nobody. Even in that infamous helicopter where the specifications were brought down, the late Brajesh Mishra was the national security advisor on whose behest I was told, as per the media reports, the specifications came down, except catching hold of a person who just recommended on his name, which has also been proved wrong later, Air Chief Marshal Tyagi. Which bureaucracy has paid the price, my friend? Nobody? It's all vanished in the air, is it? The Italian government, Italian judiciary system has clearly told there is no kind of bribe by the Indian side at all. We made so much of things for what? To saving some few people. Who makes all these things? Who plants the stories, etc.? It is the IAS lobby. They have been very adept in this. They have, practiced this as a master of craft, I don't know what else they learn. Only Mr. Vijay Kumar will
Mr.
tell
Vijay
us.
Kumar, I think,
In
should
Lal
be.
Bahadur Shastri
There's a lot of
Academy.
allegations has been put. A master of craft. They have.
He will agree with me because he's been a victim of this master of crafting. What would have happened? What great earth would have shaken if Mr. Vijay Kumar had died 15 days later?
No, one day.
1 day later, what would have happened? Nothing. But they crafted in such a manner, in a devious, a dubious, whatever name you can give it, that he should lose certain benefits by retiring 1 day earlier. This kind of scheming thing is not good for the Indian management today, especially the armed forces. Leave aside, you manage other things. That's why I always say it should be renamed as Indian Service for Administration, because the IAS has today become Indian Authoritative Service. They must have a paradigm shift. With one example, I'll tell you. In Hardwar, when the earthquake took place, there was second massive earthquake. The DC of the place, who was trained in disaster management, was a disaster by himself. He had a big heart attack and collapsed there. The Air Force first evacuation was the DC of Hardwar, and we took him to Dehradun for treatment. After 5-6 days, when the Indian chopper crashes with 9 people, we didn't stop our operation. We mourned for our soldier in discipline. We paid our regards to our soldiers in discipline, carried on with whatever orders were given to us. Famously, Air Chief Marshal Brown went there personally and said, every one of you will be evacuated, only then my boys will go to sleep. That is the kind of commitment we have. Do they have? No, he ran away. Haridwar DC, who is an IAS officer, who was trained on disaster management at the public exchequer cause, who went to Australia and some other country, who learned their arts. You know how many jantas they are, these all people go. They learn nothing. Even if they learn, they don't do anything for the public side of the story. Nothing happened. Nobody is put to question. Nobody is held accountable. IAS biggest tragedy for the nation is none of the IAS fellows have been held accountable so far for their ill decision making and interferences and wrong decisions and corruptions. Famous case is Kapil Mohan.
I want to get Vijay Kumar
Kapil
into
Mohan,
this.
you have
Do
in
they
front of you.
understand what they are doing when it comes to defense? Do they understand? Because you've been with their peers. Do they actually understand when they say that we require this? Because our fleet strength, squadron strength is in fact depleting. Our undersea arm strength is depleting, and we don't have even rifles. Insar's rifle is not a great rifle. Rifles we don't have of quality. Do they actually understand what they're doing?
See, the thing is that once you block getting complaints, genuine complaints from the down the line, that means you are actually not bothered about their security, efficiency or anything, professionalism. So that is the message they have given, and that is proved again and again. Even for the highest courts, they have proved that they don't care for the genuine complaints raised by anybody. It may be the lowest level army person or the highest person. They don't care. So that message is there.
In fact, let's go to Captain Karnik. Karnik, one big issue with this entire debate is that how much has it damaged the armed forces? Because our squadrons are low, our undersea platforms are in fact quite diminishing. We have very old submarines, and only recently they started to get new stuff into the block, as if I can put it in colloquial language. So how much has this actually damaged the preparedness of our armed forces?
Well, I left.
Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Well, I left armed forces some time ago. But before saying or reacting to what you asked me, I would like to say the issues being discussed, leads me to come to a conclusion that among all the services, all the elite services that we have under the government, at least some semblance of professionalism is left in the armed forces. That is why whenever there is a great tragedy, it is armed forces which come to the rescue of the entire nation. Even a small child falling into a borewell, it is army which has to rush for rescue, even though we are not trained for it. That means professionalism means armed forces today in the country. My appeal to the entire nation is don't destabilize armed forces. If you want to learn from the armed forces and their professionalism. Secondly, in decision making, bureaucracy, let it not budge, let it not get involved in decision making at all. Because army and armed forces are a very specialized force. The third point which you asked me, I really cannot sit and say about the disturbance that has happened over the years in the preparedness of the armed forces. But mind you, my own reading of our army, like he was quoting Air Marshal, till every man is evacuated, my boys will not go to sleep. This is the kind of spirit armed forces are trained with. So with the mediocre or less than mediocre equipment, with all kinds of technology shortfall that we have, still army fights with its spirit in heart. So I don't think it has affected the army's preparedness, but had the bureaucracy, had the successive governments taken this issue very seriously and empowered a soldier with the most modern equipment, most modern technology, most modern gear, I think we would have been much better prepared than what we are today. It doesn't mean that our spirit has come down, our morale has come down. Army has its morale. You can see those soldiers. They're fighting in the severest places on earth, in Siachen. I don't think any soldier would have said, no, sorry, I cannot go and fight there because you're not going with us. The spirit of army has not been destroyed. The professionalism of army or armed force has not been destroyed. But we could have been much better off had government had taken the right decision at the right time in procuring all these things. And lastly, I listened to Wing Commander Atri, possibly sometime in Bangalore. I would like to meet him. The very valid points that he has raised, I think should be the eye-opener. This debate should lead to some senior people sitting in Delhi taking very serious decisions, and then it is not just one Hanumanthappa's death or struggle for 8 days and then giving it away. It is just not another DV debate. I think a time has come where concerned people should take it to their heart seriously and bring in the right kind of mid-course corrections for keeping our armed forces better prepared for the eventualities in the future. That is what I feel.
Well, in fact, we have only 5 minutes into this discussion. Vijay Kumar, what do you think we have to do? Because you have the lobby, you can't do anything about it. If you have to even scramble it down, you need to have some kind of replacement to it. So what is the options that are left?
See, I think this is not the first death of this type. There would have been many deaths like this in the past. 900
soldiers were lost in Siachen.
And there would have been large number of reports about what exactly should have been done. I think Government of India should open those things and see to it that this time also they should thoroughly investigate what went wrong and come out with a proper solution, because finally if you save the people who are at the border, you are saving the country. So that message, if they understand, I think a lot of things can be done.
Mr. Dhariraj.
What I feel is the officers in charge of the Defence Department who are from the IAS cadre, in their place, experts from the Army, Navy and Air Force, they have to be posted there.
As Mr. Atri was saying.
Yes.
Like Pakistan has got a lateral induction program.
There are so many. Pakistan, of course, army is the might. Pakistan is because of army. Army itself is Pakistan. That we keep seeing in other discussions also. Here, what I agree with Ganesh, one, our valor, courage, ability, motivation, IAS has not been able to destroy with all their scheming abilities. But our operational capability has come down to some extent because of inferior
When you say
armed systems.
operational capability, isn't it very valid on a
It's
field of
valid. That's
battle?
what we are shouting for. That's what we are shouting for. Give us better equipment, better armory, so that we can safeguard the nation in a much better way. At the same time, reducing the risk of a soldier.
Because Captain Karnik said
Absolutely.
that's the spirit
And
of
I'm
the
very
soldier.
happy. Thanks to Ganesh Karnik. When he comes to Bangalore, he can call me. I think he has my number. We have spoken many times earlier. I would love to sit with him and make my recommendations, and he can take it to his party and give it to Prime Minister Modi. The time has come today. I request the government of India to order seriously an inquiry into DRDO. Why it has taken more than 12 years in completing all field trials and putting this equipment as a jacket on my soldier in Siachen. It will be the great honor government of India will be doing. A time-bound court of inquiry must be ordered to find out why this smart vest was not in place in time, so we could have saved these 10 people in time. And that report must be published for the people of India to know who was at fault, and whoever was at fault must be punished as per the laws of the country.
When we look at some of the prestigious projects that have been there, all of them have either been scrapped after 10 years, 5 years, and there's a lot of money that is pumped into these projects also. So earlier we were talking about who could be accountable. If it's not the Babu, it's not the scientist, if it's not even the armed forces, who is technically accountable? Because this comes in the report that is being prepared by the Comptroller and Auditor General of India, CAG. It comes in that CAG report saying that these are the shortcomings, and it shows the armed forces in a bad light, saying that the armed forces are the ones who are not taking the decision.
I am afraid, I'm sorry to say, and disagree with especially Vinod Rai as CAG's reports. What is after all he seeing? The whole file is in front of him. It is shown who has not taken the decision. Why is he blaming only the operational forces? Operational forces should be lessened with such burdens. And I will tell you where. Has anybody been held accountable in GTRE, which was supposed to produce an engine, Kaveri engine for the LCA? Has anybody been held responsible in ADA for not producing in time the Tejas? Has anybody accounted for in the HAL for overcharging the Air Force for the aeroplanes, including Jaguars and Sukhais and MiGs, which have been upgraded and inbuilt here under technological transfer, charging more than what is imported, based even on at least Air Marshal Khosla's report today? No. These reports are only report generations. These reports are only to be tabled in Parliament and forgotten. Show me how many inquiries have been done based on CAG report for last so many years in independent India. Show me. Nothing. They are only used. In fact, he's telling me in my ear certain FIRs are quashed based on CAG report because our courts have said it cannot be done on technical grounds. What are we looking for a CAG report as a report only? That's all. It is just an informatory article for you to read and digest whatever is there. You can do nothing beyond that. That is the state of affair. Therefore, I request the government of India today to give some sanctity of law for CAG himself to file cases when he finds such reports. These are all administrative reforms. We have to bring in this reform if you want to make a Swachh Bharat in corrupt practices. We need a Swachh Bharat first in corrupt practices, not in just, sloganeering. If we can clean up the corruption, I'll give a jargon. A tree grows from the top, but dries from the, a tree grows from the bottom, but dries from the top. This is natural phenomena. Same is the tree of corruption. It might have grown from the bottommost, but it is the top which must first dry. Therefore, corruption at high places can only be tackled if you give legal powers to file cases against all those offenders, which CAG himself reports to the government of India once the Parliament accepts the report. But it's not going to happen, because the very people who sit in that august house will also be involved in this. Because this lobby makes sure when he eats a pie, he gives a big portion to the other man also. That is the crux of the problem today. Unless we clean our systems, unless we build in accountability, unless we make sure everything is time bound and time frame, if it is not done, this is going to happen. Things are not going to move in India, because we have seen that nothing is going to happen and nothing will going to happen.